So I saw a post on TikTok that basically said that misogyny is the reason why people scrutinize Korra's mistakes more than Aang's mistakes. And honestly, I think that's pretty lazy. I think that's not really looking at the characters. But it is a small section of the fan base that has that misogynistic type of take where it doesn't matter what Korra does, they're not gonna like her. But I think the vast majority of fans, it's not even about the mistakes at this point in time. I think it's more the base layers when you compare Aang and Korra. And before you come here and say, well, you shouldn't compare them, we've been comparing from the beginning of time. We compare brands, we compare presidents, we compare players, LeBron versus Jordan. It doesn't matter. The avatars are no different. They have the same job. They will be compared. Now, let's get down to the base layers. Korra is a 17-year-old teen. People do not like teens. They hate teens. At best, they tolerate teens because they are very annoying. I do understand. Aang is a kid. He's a 12-year-old bald little boy. Regardless if people like kids or not, they still give them a lot of grace. I'd be like, but it's a kid though. Off rip, he's given infinite grace. Korra, on the other hand, she's pretty much neutral to a little bit negative because she's a teen. Let's look at backstories. Aang had his whole clan wiped out, his whole people. Imagine every black person gone. White person, Asian person, you are the last one. It's a very sad backstory. People give you grace. Korra has two loving parents and a thriving water tribe. There's no knock on her, but people tend to not give you grace when you making the same mistakes as the dude with no guidance, no parents, no people, no nothing. If I could give the example, Pusha the rapper, he went to jail and he came out. When he came out, his mom went live and she said something along the lines of "My king slime, Pusha," and the think pieces that came out of that was justifiable. Everyone was like, oh, we got it now. You had no chance in life. You had no chance at staying out of jail because your mom is the biggest problem, how you were raised. Now, if that was a suburban kid, he would get no grace. He would get negative grace because you have two loving parents at home. Why are you making the same mistakes as Pusha? You're supposed to be making mistakes, but not his, like skipping class, maybe taking your parents' car, not robbing a place. Number 3, Aang set up such a good system that he had the avatar in a boarding school, basically with the best teachers in every element, especially in water, the best. So she had that versus Aang, who came out of the ice and had to look for his bending teachers. And that sounds pretty easy for the avatar until you realize his teachers were kids too, 112, 114, and 116. And the grace continues for Aang. Korra has the best system set up for her. Now, granted, the isolation made her naive, but it still was way better than most Avatar situation. They were killed for that. Number 4, or maybe it's 5, Aang set up Republic City. Not only that, his son is on the council. Tenzin, that's resources. Also, one of his best friends ever, her daughter is the police chief. So you have the police chief, the police force, and somebody on the council and a Republic City. And then you have Amon, which is a villain of the month. I wouldn't disrespect him and say villain of the week, but he is a villain of the month. But then again, you have all these resources in Republic City, so you should be able to take him down as an avatar. Most avatars, like I said, would kill for this type of situation. No, you just get a Amon. And then you look at Aang. When he came out the ice, he had a fire nation to deal with. Even before the ice, he still had a whole nation to deal with. And that's the difference. Every situation you look at Aang versus Korra, you'd be like, oh, I gotta give him some grace for that. He's a 12-year-old boy tasked with saving the world with other 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds. Versus Korra, who had every resource and every great mentor at her disposal, yet she still was making the mistakes that Aang would have made as a 12-year-old boy. I don't think it's misogyny. I think it's just resource management. And then we look at the biggest part of it is personalities. When we look at personalities, Aang is a genius prodigy, very humble kid, one of the most humble kids ever. People love that in their protagonist. Then we look at Korra. Korra is an arrogant meathead at the start of the series. Now, meatheads necessarily don't have to be dumb, and meatheads don't necessarily have to be hated. Because if you look at a show like Game of Thrones, the spin-off, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the main character, he is a meathead. But I have not met a fan of the series who don't like this dude. He is very lovable. Or you could have a next type of meathead, like a Miracle from My Hero. She would just run through a wall, get her arm ripped off, and she would still get to her target. We love those type of meatheads. Or you could have like Toph, who's a meathead, where she's very arrogant, but also she could back up her arrogance any time of the day. The only person who could compete with her in Earthbending was Boomy. Maybe Boomy's a little stronger, or maybe she was, but she could back up any statement she made. I'm the greatest Earthbender in the world. She backed it up. Created a whole subbending. Korra fits none of those narratives. So it's like when you put everything together, Aang is almost old Infinite Grace, and Korra is like you had too much stuff at your disposal for you to get the grace that Aang had. I just had to make this video because people just always blame it on simple stuff like misogyny. No, it's just circumstances. Anyway, guys, like, comment, and subscribe.